So we ended up losing this one, and we deserved it. We absolutely deserved it. The dramatic loss is absolutely accurate. Welcome back, everybody, to Random's Thoughts, coming to you today with another game breakdown. This was a recent loss on one of the maps that just recently entered the map rotation. Now, I spent the earlier part of this stream actually opening some packs, so if you want to see some live Phobies action, you can always check out the Twitch stream over at RTChompGG, obviously, over on Twitch. But we're going to break down this game and see if we can figure out where things went wrong. I'm pretty sure I know the exact play where everything started to spiral, because at the end of this game, you can see it didn't really matter what we did. But we'll see where things started to go in the wrong direction. So we are on, I believe this is Lights Out. And our opponent opened with the opener that I have been kind of leaning into. This is only the third time I've been on this map, one of which was a Frenemies game. So I'm kind of just winging it. It's also, I think it's the second time I went second. So we went with what's kind of a standard opener. Now, there's an argument to do a bunch of other stuff also. Like, we could have gone Gesundheit. I do now all of a sudden have access to Microscopic. But we elected to try and just control these panic points. I was expecting our opponent on this upcoming turn, although they banked, and they clearly had something in mind, I was kind of expecting them to pop out a jar and then just kill the cat so that I lose. The loss of the key doesn't matter. It's the loss of the board control. If we were playing an RTS, it would be vision and map control, just the ability to be out there and do stuff. The cat itself is not that relevant, but being able to bounce back and forth between these points and things is very relevant. So, instead, they went with their original plan, which was banking for Mount Crushmore, which is probably makes sense. Mount Crushmore is pretty good, I've heard. But they do choose to back off with the fly. Not real sure on that one. I don't think there was any way that I could threaten killing it, because their murder fly was pretty high level, but either way, they did it. So what I ended up doing, which I've mentioned this before, both on stream and in other game breakdowns, I really don't like sheeping gas. Almost every time that I've gotten it, I've regretted it. It might have been okay here, but, spoiler alert, there's some relevant plays with sheeping gas. So we did run into another play, because I banked to 7. And I made another play that I actually kind of like on this map, and that's popping this top obstacle with Gravedigger. And I think this is worthwhile. The reason being is that now your ground-based Phobies can immediately charge in right from the vault. They don't have to take the scenic route around. They can recap that point, this neutral one that's so important. So our opponent just kind of put some damage on us. That's fine. There's not much we could do about it given our board state. We knew the cat was going to eat it. When I was playing the game live, I said it was on borrowed time anyway because it had this offensive point capture. It's fine. Obviously, we don't want to lose it. Now, I pulled back because we had board advantage. Our opponent needs to commit into us. So they elected to do something that I typically do to my opponents, which is choose a low-key resurrecting Phobie, Mopsy here. Mopsy allows you to get on the point and just not worry about it, because then I'm going to have to recommit, not just to kill it, but to recap the point. Now, what we probably should have done instead of banking, this was a little bit of a meme. I mentioned my pack openings earlier, and the reason why I brought that up is because you're going to see in a moment, I brought out one of the cool new toys that we got out of the pack, and I was just kind of forcing it. I don't think realistically it was a great play. It was fine. But the problem is our opponent still has 10 keys left. When you invest that many keys this early in the game, and this is still like middle of the game, and they have that many remaining, they can very easily counterpick your big Phobie and take an enormous advantage, a big tempo advantage, a big key advantage, and that's kind of what happens here. I know, spoilers. What instead we could have done was choose, say, Murderfly. Position the Murderfly, or whatever, to be ready to go onto this point and get off. So that way we kill this thing, and then we can just recap it later. We can sustain the damage. Instead, I think we were a little too over-aggressive. Over-aggression point number 1. We'll get to that later. So we end up dropping Hevo 3.0 because I got this out of a pack literally earlier today or this evening. And again, it's fine. It's a big risk. If our opponent has some way to counter it, we could seriously be in trouble. And like I said, spoiler alert. So we elect to sacrifice the Cassowary, just getting it onto the point. We're trading 2 keys for 2. We recap it. If they want to try and dive in, they're going to have to sacrifice something. So I was kind of okay with this. It's not a great trade. Cassowary, I think, is more valuable than the Mopsy overall, but it's not that big a deal. Now, here's the counterplay that I was alluding to, and our major mistake that I think cost us the game. And I'll explain why as we go through. But Erratic, obviously, is a counterpick for the Hevo. It's going to be a challenge for us to really position properly because it's very easy if they get a couple hits on Hevo with just about anything they have. Any combination thereof, Hevo's going to die. It does not have an enormous pool of hit points. So the big mistake, though, is this. This sheep just took a ton of damage for literally no purpose. Literally none. Here's why. When I moved the sheep there, the intent was just to hit Crushmore with gas. The problem is our opponent still has 4 keys left. Class, what phobia is likely to come out when they have that many keys and we're trying to poison something? This has come up before, many times before. It's Clinico. I don't think Dr. Dermic is 4 keys, but assuming that it is, it could have been Dr. Dermic. Any of the healing phobies that remove poison. They were all still on the table, so this sheep and gas is not really going to be able to connect. It's one of the issues that I have with sheep and gas right now, and the realization I'm kind of coming to is that you can't really trade up very often, if at all. It's one of the more obvious tricks and plays that you have on the board. Your opponent's going to see it coming a mile away. So as a result, it's very difficult to connect, and I think it's better utilized as a zoning tool for early game phobies, aka you just push their early game phobies away because you threaten the AoE. When we're talking about these big phobies, we're never going to connect on 2 of them. It's not going to happen. So the only one that it's relevant to connect on is Erratic. We're way out of position for that. And it's still going to take 100 years to do it, to actually kill this thing, and likely we won't. So we've been jockeying around for position here. Our opponent made the appropriate play by going for a 1-key unit so they can recap this. They still have the 3 for Clinico, as you'd suspect. We went for a Murderfly because I was debating getting our own Clinico to try and keep the Hevo online. We've invested so much in it, might as well put another 3 keys in. But I wanted the Murderfly so that way we could fly in and meatball something, hopefully burn down the Erratic or the Crushmore, and then try and weather the storm for the rest. But at this stage, I think the writing is on the wall because we can't ever commit the sheep. That's why I think that is the crucial, the pivotal mistake. This sheep, it has 780 health. Look at that. It's under half health. We can't commit to get into position on either of the phobies that we care about because it will have to be in range. Probably a both. Even if we put it somewhere, like let's assume this lava tile wasn't lava. Even if we put it there, it's possible for our opponent to just roll up Crushmore, hit it, move in Murderfly, kill it. So we effectively have 2 dead phobies in Gravedigger, which is fine. It still has some utility because you'll see later I break one of the blocks. We could make a wall, but they could just break it with Crushmore. But Gravedigger is whatever. But the sheep came at an awkward time, and then we compounded the problem by not properly protecting the sheep. We needed to either commit and push behind the sheep, or we needed to never send it in at all. And that's a mistake that I feel I make a lot. And I think that every time I've done that, people have capitalized on it because it is a significant amount of keys to lose. 3 is a decent amount, but you kind of feel like, okay, well, if I lose 3 keys, you know, I dove with my Murderfly to get their jar, or I dove with my Murderfly to get something for positioning, or even if you lose it in a bad play, it's not the end of the world. 4 keys to me is where it starts really getting bad. Obviously, you don't ever want to just punt keys into the stratosphere, but sometimes you have to sacrifice some pawns. At this point, I think the game is over. Even in-game, it felt like it was over. We're kind of just shuffling bodies around, and I don't think they're doing anything. I was hoping we could find a position that would work, but our opponent was never getting baited into it, for obvious reasons. So this was me taking a Hail Mary, or making a Hail Mary throw. Because if our opponent decided to not commit, which there's no way they're not going to, maybe we could make something happen. You know, the sheep will connect, and then we can dive with some other stuff, or, you know, maybe take down the erratic. Instead, they do exactly what they should do, and they basically just annihilate us. But at this point, I don't know that there were very many moves we had left available to us because of the hole we dug way earlier in the game. It's kind of how it goes. Phobies does not allow you to make too many mistakes. It will punish you. And that's exactly what happened here. Now, we might have been able to do something differently on this turn. I kind of dirtled too long. You know, we could have hit the Murder Fly with the Hevo, spread the damage to both the Erratic and the Crushmore, killed the Murder Fly with the Jar, then put more damage on Crushmore. But then it would have been basically this same layout. The Crushmore would have been gone, but it would have been Hevo versus Erratic, their 3-drop, and a live Jar. Hevo, especially a damaged Hevo, is not going to be able to just punch through an opposing healthy Erratic. It's not going to happen. So we ended up losing this one. And we deserved it. We absolutely deserved it. The dramatic loss is absolutely accurate. That'll do it for this game breakdown. So as always, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And Black Lives Matter.